Batman Fierce Day Alpha Issue 1, James Tynion the fourth, writing with Riccardo Federici on the art. Federici, who I think we mainly know as the one who was swapping with Cedric when Aquaman was the thing.
Yep.
There's a lot of Federici art during that time. So art's pretty solid. Federici's got a distinct style, which gives this a vibe, which is nice. So this is oversized, of course, and it is a prelude to the Fear State story. Which, and I like this issue. I think it's not amazing or essential, but I do like the kind of the big event feel that it gives the story, because it kind of like, here's just all the characters right before the story starts, and also a flashback at the start of the first time Simon Saint went to visit Jonathan Crane in Arkham and sort of started their relationship.
This feels like a proper event story where I felt Joker War didn't. So, like, Joker War just felt like it was a story that was happening in Batman, that like, oh, we're going to tie all this in. This Fear State, actually, it feels like there's going to be ripples across the Bat line because of it.
Well, I mean,
because of the
been
way that it's
building for so long, and then of course the fact that because this issue alone brings in stuff from Catwoman, it brings in stuff from various Bat books. You know, all the Bat family are pretty much involved. So yeah, I mean, it feels like an event.
So it feels like a big deal, and this issue made me realize I am probably going to miss Tynion a whole lot. Like, I know Williamson's taken over for a little bit on Batman, but all the pieces that Tynion's moved into place to tell this story, I look back on, and even though I didn't like some of them, right? Like I don't like Ghostmaker. There's some parts of Joker where I didn't like, but I feel like they've all served this purpose to lead to here, and I love that.
I think for me it's just Ghostmaker I don't like. I don't think there's been anything else that I've. Maybe people will correct me for something I did complain about.
No, but I mean, like, yeah, you like, and we have different tastes and stuff. But like Clown Hunter, I wasn't a big fan of. Still not, like, as a character, and the whole Joker War aspect, some of the stuff that he did. However, it's led to Saint being able to take over parts of Gotham in the way that he did. It's making the Fear State stuff pop out a little bit more, or Fear State, Future State. I don't like that those are so similar. Now that I think about it, it's making that stuff stand out a little bit more. So, you know, and then the Insanity Collective, and how they're different. Yeah, there's just a lot in here that I liked.
Yeah, so that's flashback with Saint going to see Crane. It's basically just like, you know, you wrote about this theory about society evolving based on the getting a shock to the system because they're so scared that everything's going to change, and they're malleable and they can be changed, you know, by someone's image. And they say, oh, there has to be a number of factors for this, but hey, Gotham goes through a lot of shit. Gotham's actually a place where they've been through so much awful stuff that you could pull it off in Gotham. And Scarecrow obviously is tempted by this. And, you know, we've been saying that Scarecrow and Saint, when things get to a certain point, they're not going to be able to work together, right? You know, Scarecrow's going to have his own agenda. There's no way he's not going to. And that obviously really already starts to bubble up in this issue. So we know Batman's trapped by Scarecrow. We see him there after the flashback. But then the rest of the issue, for the most part, is just like, I actually really appreciated these couple of pages of the news reports that effectively just recap everything that's happened in this run to get us to this point. And I think it's actually really smart because it's like, you know, with monthly comic books, it's very easy to forget things, especially when stuff was set up months and months ago, and this has been a long form thing. I think these 2 pages were a really nice refresher, and just here's all the steps that got us here. Here's who Mahoney is, who Peacekeeper 1 is, like what that journey was. Here's what A-Day was. Here's the teases that Scarecrow's been planting at the the mayor's house and stuff like that. And then the Insanity Collective, all of it just building up and bubbling up and just establishing the scene. And then of course we get to Mahoney, who's actually under fear gas right now.
And I love the idea. It's like you have a mechanized soldier and they're under the influence of an unknown toxin, and you still think this is going according to plan.
Yeah,
like I just love that.
And Saint obviously is freaking out, and obviously it's like, well, you know, you're supposed to be working with Scarecrow. Why is this a and and again, there's been so much emphasis on setting up, you know, Montoya like being roped in to be commissioner, to be under Nakano. So her reacting to all this magistrate stuff and like just dropping F-bombs and smashing her phone on the floor. In fact, it's not even her phone, it's the other cop's phone, which is actually funnier, to be honest. You
and
got
just like telling Nakano, like, you can't let this happen. He's like, let it happen. It's already happening. You know.
yeah, and you've got
Yeah.
Oracle with the Batgirls and them trying to like tack into things, only to be hit with a fake Oracle that puts out a message to just rile up the population more. You know,
Yeah.
it tells them all to be scared of Batman. It tells them all to be scared of
So
the Sanity Collective, everything.
I was gonna make a point that I was like, this doesn't sound like Oracle when it starts up,
Mm-hmm.
and then it gets to the no, it's not Oracle. She's like, what's going on? So for Barbara to even be like, I got outplayed, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I dug that a lot. I dug them try to problem solve it and then effectively try to do something about it, only for to cause an explosion. And it's like shit.
Mhm.
Like Scarecrow has put a lot of thought into this. Like this is like a
Yeah.
proper
Well,
big time thing.
I always say that my favorite one of my favorite Batman stories, and I always forget the name of it, which makes it stupid to say is my favorite, but it was a Detective Comics two-parter from back before Flashpoint, where basically the inmates in Arkham tell Scarecrow, you're nothing without your gas. You get beat up by Batman, you can't instill fear anymore. So he goes and creates a state of fear. Actually, I think it's called State of Fear or State of Terror, um, where he just starts killing random people across Gotham, and he ends up having Gotham in the palm of his hand, and that's what reinvigorates him to become Scarecrow again. And there's a lot of similarities here with this one, with um, Scarecrow putting all these plants in it, and really makes it like this is why he's a Batman level villain. He's not the dude that showed up in the Man Bat mini.
I did.
Got his butt kicked.
Which reminds me, I did laugh at the start in the flashback when it ends with Scarecrow saying, "I'm going to need all this money and also
Yeah.
lots of straw and rope." I need a lot of straw and rope.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So no, I really, in fact, I think Federici's art here, like, I'd be down for more Bat books with Federici on art because
Yeah. Has a mood to it.
it has a mood, and even just stuff as simple as like the Batgirls hanging around the clock tower with Babs. Just it had kind of a vibe. It felt different to a lot of the other Bat art we've seen recently. So I felt like their outfits just had a cooler like look to them than normal. Steph's outfit felt more like her Batgirl outfit that just happened to not have the yellow as opposed to just being her spoiler outfit, for example. Yeah. But anyway, so that happens. Then we cut to Deep Under Gotham, which is where Harley's taken Miracle Molly and co. for protection, and this is where one of the Ivies, I should say,
Queen Ivy.
Yeah, Queen Ivy's like hiding out, and this is one of these things where this has been built up, and the gardener's like, hey, there's another part of Ivy that's missing. We have to find her. And I was thinking, well, what about the one that's in Catwoman? And of course, like literally, like just like a page or two later, that's where we go. We go to the other Ivy, the broken one that Catwoman's got from her book. And again, that made it really feel like I'm feeling rewarded for reading both Batman and Catwoman. Now they're both worth reading on their own anyway because they've both been really good. But it really like, oh no, this is actually really neatly fitting into this. But you have this idea as well. There's like a really nice emotional beat here where Harley is able to convince this Ivy to let these people seek asylum here when this version of Ivy, Queen Ivy, has been pretty cold and pretty nasty to people. And the Guardian even says, Ivy must really love you if even this part of her is willing to like listen to you. So it's actually a really sweet thing, and it does that thing, the cut where it says, hey, there's a part of Ivy missing somewhere in Gotham, and we turn the page and we're in Alleytown, and it's kind of interesting that Harley has one half of Ivy and Catwoman has the other half.
Yeah,
that's a really because of the sirens and
well, and I love the idea too that it's not Poison Ivy anymore. She's just Ivy, right? And there's Queen Ivy, and there's this Ivy. So I was like, do we put them together? Is that where Poison Ivy's gonna come back? Like, I just love the differentiation between the two, And it also goes into, I know me and Connor read it, but the Harley and Ivy mini, this was kind of the crux of that there was two Ivies running around, and I know that's probably not part of the story and they're disregarding that, but I like that it's the same vibe that, that at the end of the day, the relationship is so strong between Ivy and Harley that even this impossibly evil version, can't help but be swayed.
And it's something that even Swamp Thing added to as well. For that one issue where it brought up Ivy. So it's been something that it's been editorially has been well handled, and that it's not been this mistake where there's multiple Ivies that all feel like they're, because this could have felt like a mistake where, oh, why is Ivy in this book so different to the Ivy in this book? But there's been enough references to, no, there's like a split of some kind, or there's something weird going on. And then when you get to this and it has them back to back pages with a direct reference of, no, like this Ivy is missing some of herself and vice versa.
Yep.
So really neat stuff. It really incorporates the Catwoman stuff into this. And the fact that they're moving in on Alleytown, we even see Jace with his bat suit, sort of like, because basically the news is reporting that Batman is dead, and obviously we don't believe that. Barbara doesn't believe it for a second, because when Babs hears that, she's like, yeah, I don't, or I think it's Selena actually. When Selena hears, hey, I hear Batman's dead, and Selena's like, yeah, I don't believe everything you hear. Like, she knows not to just believe that at face value.
Right. And this is where I like the parts of Fear State that pop, is the Batman's dead, and it's, it's not what we thought it was, right? Here it's playing off that it has to do with Scarecrow having him, not prisoner, but he has them all tied up and off the board, if you will.
Did you mean to say Future State? I don't think your sentence
Yes,
made
I
sense.
did Fear State again, didn't I?
Yeah. What are we talking about?
Future State, my bad. Made the Future State, and then the stuff with Chase 2 popping up as a Batman.
Yeah, that's just kind of what I meant by it. It goes around all the characters that are going to be important and just kind of sets them up, and like, okay, this is where things are going to start. Because I really loved earlier on when Toya's talking to Nakano, or no, it's Simon. Simon's like basically saying, no, we'll show our strength by taking over Alleytown. And because so much of Catwoman's last couple of issues has been about the fact that the forces are coming into Alleytown, this feels so well orchestrated between the books that it feels like that's been the status quo in Catwoman for a couple of issues, that it doesn't just feel like out of nowhere. It feels like, oh no, we've been building to that in Catwoman, and now it feels like it's part of Saint's overall plans in Gotham. Everything just feels like it is part, like at least all the Bat books feel like they're part of one world, and that just feels so satisfying. So, that's neat stuff. I mean, honestly, the only real critique I have of this is that it just kind of ends on a weird, like, Batman breaks out of his bounds and just kind of like is like, making a run for it, and Scarecrow's like, there's no stopping it now, Batman, ha 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 ha, and it just says Fear State begins, and I'm like, as an ending, that was a bit of a whimper. Like, it's just like,
I agree.
That's it. After all these teases for 6-7 issues of Batman being held captive by Scarecrow, he literally just breaks out of his ropes and runs. Like that easily. I don't know. It felt so sudden at the end of this issue.
I like the idea of Scarecrow. Oh no, I'm gonna have to get him back, or he's gonna ruin this. Like a bumbling villain, kind of deep down, like as badass as Scarecrow has become, he's still Scarecrow, and he's like, oh shit.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that he says to Simon at the start, is that you're going to have to keep Batman distracted so that by the time he finds out that anything's going on, it's too late to stop it. And that's what he says at the end. It's too late now. Like, it doesn't matter that Batman's ran away and got out. Like, it's too late. Like, he believes that. Obviously, we're going to find, I assume, that there will be a way that he will save the day, because it's comic books. But yeah. So that was the thing. The ending left me feel a little bit whimpery, and I felt like because of that, it does just kind of feel like a snapshot of everything start. I like how epic it makes a story feel overall by going around all these different characters and how they're all going to factor in some way. That's really neat. As an issue on its own, it's a little bit weak, especially given it doesn't really have a good ending. But I still say it's essential for the overall story, and it absolutely should be in the trade with the story, as well as the Omega issue at the end.
Yeah.
But
100% it will be.
But on its own, I'd probably give it like a 7.
All right. I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to give it 7.5.
Okay. The art's good though, and I liked all the just all the build.
Yeah, I just love how the story's coming together. That's all. It's a feat that it's landing so well, and especially since I went back and read Catwoman, and that's all at play. Yeah. All that stuff showing up. So
I think that's the best way to put it, is that it feels like it's coming together. So yeah, the ending was just such a whimper that it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth at the end. So that's why it's getting a 7.
That's That's fair.
It's like no, like this is just anticlimactic at the end.